feel like a bug on a windshield doing a solo show today, but this is going to be our last solo show. Welcome into Yankees Unloaded. Jake will be back Sunday. I'm really looking forward to that. These are not the type of games you want to see when you're going to talk to yourself, but thank you guys for being incredible in our comment section. You guys have been great. We are now close to, I think we're actually eclipsed 7,500 subscribers, so our show is growing massively over the last several months. So thank you guys again. And of course, all our members and the supers, you guys are greatly appreciated. This is not going to be a long show. Our Yankees absolutely stunk. Something fierce today. Matthew Boyd, you got to give him credit. He completely controlled the game. They frankly don't deserve a 50-minute podcast today. I don't even think it'd be possible to manufacture that. But we're obviously going to talk about our own players and what they did. And Max Fried self-described post-game, he claims it was just bad, right? And a lot of us know the story of what happened, but in the end, he goes just 3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs. Now, one of those, he ends up giving up 3 earned. One of those was not earned, of course. And you look up and say, well, how's that possible? Defense wasn't very good today. It just wasn't. Obviously, Peraza, and we'll get to that. 3 walks, 2 Ks. Fried didn't have anything, right? Fastball command wasn't there. Slider was flat. The changeup, really, there wasn't any command. The overhand curveball wasn't for a strike today, and he was getting hit around. By the time he passed the ball over to Ian Hamilton to start the 4th, they diagnosed him at that point with a blister. And man, when you, especially if you know Max Fried and you understand the organization he's coming from in the Atlanta Braves, he's dealt with this before. This actually, for those counting, he went onto the IL 4 separate times with the Atlanta Braves with this exact injury. They're saying it was his left index finger. So this is not good. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous to say a player has a blister and he can't perform, but when you're a pitcher and your fingertip is the last thing to touch the baseball, blisters do matter. We saw it with Shohei Ohtani some years ago. We're seeing it again here with Max Fried. So I'm not going to tell you guys to freak out with this. We've got the All-Star break here as soon as Sunday's game's over. We've got the break. Fried should have just enough time to get this healed, get this right. I'm not worried. But the defense from Peraza and what it means, that's the title of this show, what the Yankees potentially have to do over there. Is Peraza, does he have any chance to stay over there at third base? Can the Yankees possibly go into the postseason with this player at the hot corner? We'll obviously talk about it, so I think you guys know where I'm going to go with it. Johnny Lowe, his struggles continue, right? And we'll bring up his numbers. He's not been good, and he's a fan favorite. I mean, he's not Aaron Judge, and we understand this, but guys, we're rooting for him. He's been in this organization a while, and he's dealt with injuries. It always sucks to see, but he looks like a shell of himself. We'll talk about those, but some good stuff here. Cody Bellinger now riding a 17-game hit streak. Aaron Judge hits his 35th home run, 350th of his career. He's the fastest player of all time to this mark. So if you think you can name any player you want in Major League history, none of them did what Aaron Judge just did. So incredible work. And of course, we'll pair that with the Cal Raleigh MVP race debate. I cannot believe there's a debate of who's going to win the American League MVP when a player is hitting 100 points higher than another. But we'll digress. We had the same conversation with Bobby Witt Jr., and some folks at MLB Network seem to think that this is certainly a race. So we'll address it. And lastly, the choice, the interesting choice. And I understood somewhat what they were trying to do, but man, I hate it. What they were doing with the lineup. Jason Dominguez, no Jason Dominguez, 5-game win streak. I think he was one of the main stories of development, right? And what we really have in this player, and not to mention what he's doing against left-handed pitching. And maybe Aaron Boone, the person, right? This is a solo mission. And he said, well, tough matchup with Matthew Boyd. I'm going to sit down the 22-year-old. I absolutely hated it. I didn't like it. I'm going to address it at depth. I didn't think it made sense. I didn't. I thought it would have been a great opportunity to put confidence into a young player. They obviously chose not to do that. And of course, we saw Ian Hamilton go multi-inning. He did his job. F. Ross, Johnny Lowe, as I mentioned, he was the sole lemon. His ERA now balloons north of 5 officially. Tim Hill, Brubaker, all did their jobs today. And be sure to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. We are giving away a Yankees jersey of your choice. Won't be some garbage that other networks love to give away, little t-shirts. No, we're not doing that. We're going to give you guys a jersey of your choice, fully customizable. We will announce that giveaway here live on our show. So we really hope you guys get involved in that. So let's start with Fried, because I do see people, I see it already in the chat, I would say most aren't worried, right? You look up, he's got north of 122 innings, and he's been a bulldog for the Yankees. He's been, what Yes Network described today, as probably the best pitcher in the AL. He's got his command, and when he doesn't, he finds ways to make adjustments and stay involved in the game, giving the Yankees offense enough time to hopefully win the game. He's got 11 wins for a reason, 10, 11 wins. So the point here is that you have to imagine when a player doesn't give you what you're looking for as your ace, and then he walks off the mound somewhat injured, well, you can probably chalk it up to that given the track record that he's shown all year. I'm not worried about this player. I'm just not. And this whole blister thing, this is something that comes and goes. It'll be a problem situationally, and you just have to hope that you can time this. So I'm not worried. I will get to all supers. We just don't miss supers here at this. I know other podcasts will receive $20 super chats and they'll act like they weren't just given somebody else's money. So we really appreciate you guys getting involved and investing in the show, because that's exactly what you're doing. Ninja Hot Dog, always appreciated. Member here at Yankees Unloaded, says, I feared that Fried, see there you have it, is falling off. I don't agree. I really don't. I think if I saw over the course of the last 4 starts and I said, okay, Fried, his command is not where I'd like it overall, like accumulated over those starts, right? Fastball velocity may be down. You can say that the location may be down. The walk rate may be spiking. But if you look at what Max Fried's done, look at his career numbers. His numbers have been electric. Over the course of his entire career, his career ERA is in the 2s. That's for a reason. Run prevention is not a problem for this guy. There's no such thing as Max Fried falling off. The reason Max Fried, and I know the Yankees gave him north of $200 million, the reason it wasn't some high-priced free agent that everyone wanted, do you know why that was? Was because of availability, injuries. That's why. So if you're worried about Max Fried, all the reason you should be worried is if he can stay on the field, and so far, so good. So far, Max Fried has been everything and more. He's been the best version of himself. So obviously, you're entitled to your opinion. You're allowed to be worried about whatever you want. But I'm just telling you guys that when it comes to getting outs, Max Fried's not going to be a problem. So I personally wouldn't worry about it. And Yankee Fangirl for Life says, in my opinion, Boone manages early deficits like losses. Even after Judge's 9th inning home run, he didn't pinch hit or run, stuck in the same defeatist mindset. Interesting. So almost as though our manager doesn't feel like we're going to punch back, so essentially he just, he sits back and waits, right? And I will tell you guys, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you bring in your high prize relievers or your high leverage guys, you bring everybody in off the bench when you're from behind, well, the problem with that is guys get used up. Guys get overworked, right? And so you saw it today. Max Fried sort of gets worked. He has the blister. And then people will say, well, why weren't you as aggressive? We're coming from behind. Our bullpen's obviously beat up. No Cruz. Weaver's not the same player, unfortunately, right now. So there are plenty of guys out in our bullpen. And then you say, well, you can use all these guys, the ones who are available. And that's technically true. The problem is you play 162 baseball games. So when you use everybody, do I agree that the Yankees are a bit timid using their guys off the bench and maybe treating games as if, unless it's 8-0, we understand that certainly, but there was much of this game where it was 2-0, 3-0, right? And you feel like that game still is right there for the taking. Matthew Boyd is not Sandy Koufax. You can find yourself, and this is where I'll tend to agree with this super chat. So Yankee Fangirl for Life, thank you for the 5. Thank you for being a member. Yeah, it makes sense that you want a little bit more aggressiveness and belief to show by the way of the decisions of your manager. It's just difficult, and I want it to be known that Aaron Boone has a choice. How do I go about this? Should I burn out everything I've got? Should I use every opportunity to try and score every run? It's just not the way the game tends to be managed throughout the whole league from behind. A lot of times, if you're going to fall from behind, you've sort of made your mess, and you've got to hit your way out of it. The Yankees, unfortunately, didn't do that. Outside of Aaron Judge, what did we do today? This game, outside of Aaron Judge, was a nothing burger. Cody Bellinger sprayed a double down the left field line. Does anyone else remember a play? A single play? Anthony Volpe lined a hard line out to center field? Those are literally the things that came to my mind. Everything else was garbage time. So I understand where you're coming from. But again, thank you for the super. And Brian always has the absolute best supers. He is in the Hall of Fame, which we will be starting. I know Jake said he's going to make a Super Chat Hall of Fame for our best comments. I know we have a few of them screenshot. Brian is certainly in the Hall of Fame. Also a member here at Yankees Unloaded. Thank you for the 10. Says lost game on errors, and Johnny Lowe needs to be DFA'd now. Boone continues to make dumb lineup decisions. Very frustrating at times. Boone absolutely holds this team back. Moves need to be made. So, Brian, again, thank you. I want to really circle something, because when you do criticize Aaron Boone and people will say, well, I don't love like certain decisions that he's making, and it almost feels gaslit, right? And we're not going to get back into the conversation of, oh, okay, fire this guy, get rid of him, because we've had these conversations, and the Yankees are coming off a 5-game win streak. This ended today. So having said all this, when you bring up the mistakes that have been made, people say, well, the Yankees are winning X amount of games. The Yankees are still in this situation. So Aaron Boone must have a lot to do with it, right? And so that's the frustrating part, is that it almost feels like you're not validated by making criticisms of what's happening. And that's why a lot of folks do say it's a holdback. The Yankees are still a good team, but it could go further if it wasn't for some of these mistakes. And yeah, part of that holdback to me was Jason Dominguez. I would have loved to see what he could have done to help impact the game. I understood some of the names I saw in today's lineup. I got it. I really do get it. If you look up and you say, well, Paul Goldschmidt destroys lefties. Matthew Boyd, tough matchup. We probably want him up there, right? Makes a lot of sense. Cody Bellinger, reverse splits. Aaron Judge, Stanton. All 4 of those names dominant against left-handed pitching. So I understand the concept of how they got in there, but where I don't get it is one of your best bats the past month in Jason Dominguez, he's nowhere to be found. Trent Grisham, you needed to fit Trent Grisham into what, the 6th spot? Why'd you need to do that? Why did it have to happen? I would technically understand it a little bit if Jason Dominguez found himself outside of leadoff today, but outside the lineup, why? For what? I don't get it. And people say, well, he's not good against lefties. I see that in the chat. He's been over a 300 hitter the past month against left-handers. It's just the case. And so you can't look up and say, well, Trent Grisham also hits lefties. He's got somewhat of reverse splits. Not really. Not really. No, he doesn't. Trent Grisham's hitting 250, right? He's slugging. Like, his numbers are certainly good enough to help somebody, good enough to help the Yankees. But is he good enough to tell Jason Dominguez, not today, we'll see you tomorrow? Especially ahead of the break. It doesn't make sense to me. It's, as Bieber would say, it's not clocking for me. So I personally didn't understand it, but I do. Obviously, I see James with the super. Says, playing an injured Grish. This is great. Very interesting. So James with a 5. Thank you, James, for getting involved with Yankees Unloaded. Greatly appreciated. Says, playing an injured Grish, better than ET, makes no sense to me. So Trent Grisham obviously is dealing with, I believe, the hamstring, right? He comes back. He said initially it was bad, right? He dealt with this before. This was worse. But having said that, why would you force a player who's not 100% when you got a 22-year-old kid who's got it going? I just don't get it. Very frustrating. I know people will say, well, I think my mom is saying here, Trent is definitely not fielded even close to 100%. Shouldn't be in the outfield. I don't even know that. I don't know. I think a lot of it is that's the way Trent Grisham plays. It's very low intensity. He makes good reads. They're proper. He makes the correct throws. I don't even have a problem with Trent Grisham. I don't. My problem is that who didn't get to play. That's it. That's my only problem. And I hope people understand that. I hope it comes through on screen. But yeah, I do see it in the chat of people saying Grisham needs to be traded. I'm not saying that because Grisham is not a good player. No, Grisham is having a great year. This is a career year. His ops is almost the same as Jazz Chisholm's. His ops is almost the same as Cody Bellinger's, right? And ops isn't the holy grail, but you don't have an 830 ops, 817 ops while you stink, right? While you're so bad, we want to trade you. No, it's you're good enough to play and make this a hard decision for Boone. That's the problem here. I hope people understand this. He's too good where Boone can't make this an easy choice to play the 22-year-old. Hope it makes sense. So I want to get to Peraza because Peraza, obviously you guys know the numbers. You look up and you say, okay, he's a guy who's not hitting. When he came up into the big leagues, he was a bat. He needed to work on the glove. Then we started this year. Jake goes to a spring training game. He said, Gary, do you know who actually looked like the best defensive player out there? I don't really know why, but Peraza looked great at third base. I took it with a grain of salt. It's spring training, right? And then long and behold, as the season continued to track on, we started to watch, okay, Peraza's glove is really good. And then Michael K starts to say, if he can start hitting, he's got a job, right? Cabrera down with a season-ending injury. You've got all the opportunity you'll ever need as long as you start hitting. And what did he do? Didn't hit. He didn't hit. And then afterwards, Jazz Chisholm, who's at third base, of course, he didn't practice that all year. And you're watching at second base, DJ LeMahieu be a statue. The Yankees say, well, Jazz can't deal with this physically at third. He's got to go back to second. Where does that leave us? We turn around and say, well, Peraza, this is your job. Please hit. Please. He hasn't. I know he had a couple infield singles yesterday. I know today he's 0 for 3. We're not going to pick on him, but his overall numbers, he's hitting 152. His ops is in the 500s. So again, ops isn't the holy grail, but there are no good players offensively with ops in the 500s. It doesn't exist. So, in my opinion, the conclusion here is that Brian Cashman is forced to trade for a third baseman. I don't care who it is. Take your pick. We would like it to be either Suarez, right? And mind you, Suarez is not a perfect fit. He's not Jose Ramirez. Any player you get on the trade market, for the most part, either they don't have a ton of roster control, right? They won't be on the team next year. This is strictly a rental. So you don't love that. Some people love it. Others don't. Most don't, right? And so you say, not a great fielder. So we want a great fielder who can also hit. How many of those are available? How many? So I'm looking at the Yankees and saying, well, Peraza is that bad offensively. He is. He is that bad offensively. And unfortunately, it seemed like he was developed this portion of his game to not hit 150. We didn't think this would be a problem. And I will say, the Yankees certainly came into this season not expecting Peraza to have to man third base. They thought Cabrera probably would play third base or Jazz. And if Cabrera earns a spot, he'd slide over to second base. Do I think it was a bit overzealous? Yeah, probably. But you look at today's game, right? You look up and say, all right, it's top 3, 2-0 game. Ground ball off the bat of Dansby Swanson. Decent runner, right? You don't have to overly rush this throw, overly rush the feed to second base. The throw was treacherous to Jazz Chisholm. It's behind him. And Jazz, unfortunately, forces the throw to first base, which he absolutely never should have thrown this baseball. It sails over the first baseman's head, making it now 3-0, right? Making a mess of this game. Defense is incredibly important. I know hitting is what gets you on SportsCenter. I know they don't really talk about sports anymore on there, but you guys get the gist. In order to be on the highlight stuff, in order to be on Instagram highlight reels, you don't really just play solid, sound defense. You need a hit. But these plays matter too. It's now 3-0. And then the slumping Ian Happ, he singles the following hitter, making it 4-0. So you see how defense completely changed this game. It's unfortunate. It's not what I wanted. I was really rooting for Peraza. I was rooting for Cabrera while he was out there. But man, you got to look up and just sort of read the room. Is that a long-term solution? Is this something that could work, or is it probable to work? I would say this situation with Peraza is something long-term that could be something there. I wouldn't just relinquish him off the roster. I wouldn't just dismiss him. But having said that, in 2025, the Yankees are a win-now organization. You got guys like Paul Goldschmidt who are on one-year deals. Aaron Judge is in a full year of his prime. You're going to waste one of those years to wait on a Peraza. Brian Cashman has a clear job. You trade for a third baseman right now, and if you don't love who it is, move on to the next name and go find who that guy is. So again, guys, thank you for being involved in the chat. Greatly appreciated. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe if you guys are new here. Get involved in the giveaway. And Brian with the super, and hard to disagree with this, right? One thing led to another, but Brian with the 5, thank you for doing so. Says 3 runs were because of Peraza. He doesn't know how to play third. He turns a simple play for Volpe into an error, then the errant throw to Jazz. So this is all true, but I want to make sure people also understand why this is happening, because Peraza is out there to shore up the defense. That's the reason why he's at third base. He's incredible at third. The analytics suggest that. The eye test also shows it. Not today, but there's a ton of pressure on him. If you're not going to hit a lick, and he knows he's not hitting, he knows when he goes out there, I better be electric. Electric with the leather. And has he? He's been pretty good. But you know what he knows? If I make a mistake, I'm a sore spot. I'm not good at anything. If I'm not making plays, and Anthony Volpe is the same thing. I know he had a knock today in garbage time, but I will tell you guys, you don't think that Anthony Volpe's bat and how he's performing offensively, all the pressure that's on him, and rightfully so, he's not performing. You don't think that's carrying out into the field? I think the same thing can be true. It can be said about Peraza. So I hope it's not the case, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I think the Yankees have to trade for a third baseman, and that's why when they tried to tell us Jazz is going to move over to third, well, why are you guys doing that? Well, because there's more second basemen available, right? You see the guys from Baltimore, right? All these different names. We can tell teams, yeah, if you don't want to give us the third baseman we're after, we can always pivot to a second baseman. So don't tell the Yankees what we have to do. But then all of a sudden, Jazz now dealing with injury, throwing the ball from third base. Now all of a sudden, that flexibility is no longer there. That option is no longer available. DJ LeMahieu is now DFA'd. You need a third baseman, a starting third baseman for a team that hopes to win a pennant. And if that player is not pennant quality, well, you didn't do your job, unfortunately, as a general manager. That's the clear task at hand. And I did want to talk just a tad about Johnny Lowe, because he's not going to get a ton of burn here. And again, Brian, thank you for that and pushing that conversation, because it needed to be had. But I wanted to talk Johnny Lowe, because Johnny Lowe's a player that we're all, in my opinion, we're rooting for. We wanted it to win, like to work, to win, like for him to win with this organization and show back up and get back on his feet. But injuries, it just seems like it's not the same. It's not the same Johnny Lowe. It's not. So I really hope that, I can't even say that I hope that this turns around, because you would assume he's going to get the burn. He's going to get the leash to stay on this team and fix this, like just the same way Tim Hill has seemingly with this organization. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. They're using him a ton right now, and it's not working. It's not. So I do see Drew Thorpe in the comment section. So we are reading all comments as well. Says Judge, best right fielder in the game. Cody, best left fielder in the game. Put the fastest guy on earth in center field where he belongs. So I would assume discussing Jason Dominguez in the fact that seemingly they've punted on him being a center fielder. He's struggling defensively. I didn't even think we'd talk this today. But this is something Jake's also alluded to, is that when you've got your worst defensive player, he's the worst defensive player on our team, and Jason Dominguez, and mind you, I'm not criticizing him. I am simply mentioning his weakness as a player. It's on the defensive side of the ball. You've got him manning the most difficult task at Yankee Stadium in left field. Why would you do that? For what? Why is it happening? I don't understand it. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Drew. He was developed in center field. So why, as a player who's struggling, why are you putting him slightly out of place or making him make adjustments, especially at the major league level? So it doesn't seem to be working, unfortunately. So, yeah, Drew, I just completely agree. I do. I really agree. And I think this would help simplify the choice of those three options you've got in the outfield. Cody Bellinger is a mainstay. He's a guy you want to keep. He should be playing every single day. Trent Grisham is just a good player this year in 2025. I know today didn't show it. It wasn't great. He flagged down some quality outs in the outfield. Like, he wasn't a problem per se. You look up 250, 800 ops. He's driving in a ton of runs. He's hitting 15, 16 homers on the year. Yeah, he's giving you numbers, but is he one of your 3 best outfielders? No, he's not right now. He's simply not, and Jason Dominguez shows way too much potential. He should be playing every day, and occasionally, guys, you get Stanton off his feet for a break because of the physical toll he clearly takes, and you put one of those outfielders, maybe a Trent Grisham, into the outfield, and you have Jason Dominguez as your designated hitter. It's just such a simple solution. It's really, he's just a good bench player. He is. And I see it right there. Stunna, thank you. He is a bench player. Bench player doesn't mean you suck. So I hope people get that. I hope people understand it. And I do want to move this conversation to Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge, again, people are talking about the MVP race as if it's like open for business. Like, Aaron Judge isn't hitting 355, 356 with 35 jacks, who's going to lead the league in RBIs. They're acting like this is all not happening, and they're strictly talking about another player who is just now getting on the scene. I don't see it. It feels a lot like Derrick Rose. Historically great season, right? And it's something new, it's something fresh, and we're going to push it onto our audience. It's basically baseball's way of talking about something else that's going on great, and in order to talk about something great, we have to act like it's the best thing we're watching. Cal Raleigh is having the best season I've personally ever seen from a catcher, ever. And he's a good catcher defensively. He's really good. But having said all these things, really good, like the best I've ever seen from a catcher, is still not. Like, if I watch Mike Piazza have the best season of his entire baseball career, copy and paste it, and have him pump his numbers into 2025, do I think he wins the MVP over an Aaron Judge? Not even close. That's how good this season is. And the only reason people are so comfortable having this conversation is because Judge hasn't done anything in the postseason. Now, I know what you're thinking. What has Cal done in the postseason? Nothing. But he's also not hardly been there or ever. So you guys get the point. Judge is sort of this guy that is this, they call him this 162 game merchant, regular season merchant, piling up stats that are meaningless. But the MVP is most valuable player of the regular season. Would you rather have Cal Raleigh's season over Aaron Judge? No. Nobody would. It's not difficult. It's not. So, here you have it. Drew Thorpe. Raleigh is the best catcher. Judge, he's the best player. Who else is arguing this? I couldn't remember who said it on MLB Network. They were like, oh yeah, no, if because of what he's doing, the defensive toll in the ability to play catcher and to go out there and hit just surpasses what Aaron Judge is doing. They're acting like Aaron Judge is out there just standing out in right field, catching the balls straight to him. He saved yesterday's game with his glove. Did he not? Hey, we're just having, and someone else told me, well, Cal Raleigh is doing this in half a season. How many games has Judge played? Didn't he play half the season? Isn't the break starting Monday for Aaron Judge as well? Isn't Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge starting in the All-Star game? What are we even talking about? So it's very difficult to try and track all of these talking points because they just don't make sense. They don't. When you step into the plate, you're trying to inflict damage. Aaron Judge just commit more. He just has. So understand that it's just great baseball from Cal Raleigh. I want to discuss it as great baseball, which is exactly what I've done. But man, to suggest that, hey, this is really awesome, this is great, and then it's the best I've seen, and then just ignore what you've watched over and over again every year. I understand it may be boring, it may be something you're used to, but it's not going away. It's just not. So, yeah. I see Brian. Yeah, this is not going to happen. So Brian says the Padres need outfielders. I wonder if we can use Grisham or Pereira for a trade for Cease. If the San Diego Padres trade for Trent Grisham and trade us one of their starters who they're going to be selling low on, okay? Dylan Cease is pitching horrible, right? And you would assume Matt Blake would be able to turn around and solve some of those issues. Like, he would be able to fix that. Okay, great. Why would the Padres do that? Why? Do you know how bad it would look? Oh yeah, we traded Juan Soto to the Yankees. We brought in Michael King. Awesome. Yeah, we also tagged in this other player. He was this other guy we got. Oh, okay. So you got rid of a player who was a low performer. Yes. Well, he's having a career year with that team that we traded him to. And now we're going to buy back. We're going to buy high on that player and give them something that they can fix. They rightfully think they can fix. And then we're going to bring in Trent Grisham, and then he's going to become a free agent, and now we have to pay him. There's no possible way that happens. If it does, the Padres have more than one problem. They really do. So I hope, I understand for our sake that maybe it'd be good. I see, but there's no reason for the Padres to do that. Drew Thorpe again says Gallen is the guy. Zach Gallen, he's having a bad year, but the trends are going where you want them. It's what you want. You figured it out around the summer. Okay, great. This guy's figuring it out. He's now on a team that figures, okay, we're out of this race. I know the Diamondbacks haven't officially said they're selling, but when you look up and see the name Zach Gallen, you say, okay, well, this guy, I'd feel comfortable tossing him the ball, right? It won't look like Will Warren, right? It won't look like Marcus Stroman. It won't look like some of these names. Even a Luis Gil who's going to be returning from injury, it won't look like that. So I like the concept. I would like a pairing, by the way, of Suarez and Gallen, but I have a feeling I won't love the names because this is just a 2025 option. Am I trading Spencer Jones or any other top prospects? And these guys aren't blue chips. Like Spencer Jones is not a blue chip. Like George Lombard Jr., as good as he looks, and I really think he's going to be a great player in this league, he's not a blue chip. And people need to understand what blue chips are. Like people talk about it in the NFL draft. Oh, I wouldn't trade this guy here. There are 2-3 blue chips in every draft where you look up and say that guy can be he is likely to be a superstar. That guy right there is going to be a perennial all-star. Going to be. Those are the guys that should be untouchable. So I hesitate to call guys blue chips. I know the Yankees just do not have those. They don't. I believe in George Lombard Jr. I think he'll be in the Yankees infield in the very near future. I'm rooting for him. But man, the Yankees do make it seem like their prospects are like we've got it going. We haven't proven that. We just haven't. And Mark with the super, thank you, Mark, for the 20 and investing into Yankees Unloaded. Greatly appreciate it. Does not go unnoticed. Says, I think it's time to DFA, obviously talking about Johnny Lowe, and I would hate to see that, even though the performance justifies it. Maybe they pull the plug after the deadline. Mark, I have a feeling that if it does happen, that would be the case. Hey, still got decent velocity. The movement is not nearly there, but let's get to the rest of this. He says, we can get some tastier, fresher lasagna in the market. Love that. Also, as I said on here months ago, the impact of losing Cabrera is huge. Interesting. We really haven't had a competent third baseman since then. So I think what you're getting at with Cabrera is league average, as much as people like to clown on, 700 ops, 245 batting average, right? You're just okay at everything. And when we describe you as a player, you're just pretty good. You're not great. No one would ever put you in that conversation. But Mark, as you bring up, there's value in just being okay. When you have a good team, and overall I consider the Yankees a good team. I know it's hard to get people to all agree on one thing, but the Yankees are still a good baseball team, right? You still look up, we've got quite a few good players, but the problem for the Yankees is that there's a couple spots they have where you say, yeah, that guy is just nothing. That's a nothing burger right there. That guy in their bullpen, he gives them nothing. That guy right there, yeah, I don't want him going lefty on lefty. He's a nothing burger. There's too many zeros on this roster. And as you mentioned, Mark, and I disagreed at the time, let's be clear about that. I said Cabrera is an okay player, but when you go from okay to getting nothing and just a glove at third base, the difference is noticeable. So I agree with you, Mark. There certainly has been a difference. There's been a gap there as far as production at third base. The Yankees have to replenish that. And as I mentioned before, Brian Cashman has a clear job. You don't have the flexibility anymore to sign a second baseman. Those days are over. We saw the DJ thing. He hit 260. It was okay with the bat. Couldn't run the bases. Couldn't field a lick. You had to punt on it. Now Jazz is at second base. He looks much better over there. I know he made an error today. I honestly want to call it a damn error on Peraza. I do. Peraza is the main problem with this roster, and it's not his fault. He was put in this situation. He hasn't developed. Maybe that's his fault, but he wasn't supposed to be in the situation in the first place. So, Mark, I do understand that his absence is looming large. No doubt about it. And Jonathan, with the super with the 5, says, not sure anymore that bullpen is a priority. There will be ups and downs in any position. At bats from any of our third basemen haven't helped us at all in 2025. So, Jonathan clearly feels that third base should be a top priority over the bullpen. And I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm going to disagree. I am. I know it was the title today. I think it's important. I think we both agree. Jonathan and I both agree. This is massive. You need to do both. But when it comes to this bullpen, I'm not just going to put my blinders on and say, oh, I liked what Tim Hill did today, right? I liked what some of these names did today. No. Brubaker, like, do I want to see Brubaker? Do I want to see, Tim Hill, I assume, is going to be on this roster. They're not, but do I want to see F. Ross? Do I want to see Ian Hamilton in big games? No. Sorry, I don't. Obviously, I want to see Weaver return to form. I think he will. Devin Williams, I think he will. He's been decent, not great, but those are two solutions. Cruz, you expected to just trust Cruz long-term because you fixed him for a couple months and then now that's one of your mainstays that you're going to rely on? I think it's the Yankees' biggest problem. The Yankees need more arms they can rely on. They just don't have that. They don't. They're putting too much pressure on their starters. They're putting too much pressure on the fact they have to go length. You saw with Rodon. He goes 8. Everyone says, oh, great, it's easy when he goes length. Yeah, it is. But what happens when they don't? What then? So, yeah, it's a priority for me. It is. And Brian, with the 2, says, we need a Ben Zobrist type of utility guy. Where are they? Everyone always talks about, well, we want a certain type of player. And by the way, I would love that. I would love the idea of being able to slot a guy over to second base. Okay, one guy goes down, Jazz goes down for a week with some type of issue. We can slot this guy over there. Okay, left field, throw him over to left field. Awesome. You know who your Ben Zobrist is of the roster? Cody Bellinger. You're paying him $25 million this year. He's your Ben Zobrist. I hope people understand that. We already have our Ben Zobrist. The utility situation, I think, the Yankees shouldn't be going into this deadline looking for utility. They need to be looking for a third baseman and bullpen. That is it. Look at their position. If it says primary position, third base, good. You've located something, at least a conversation starter. Now you mention his strengths, his weaknesses, and you compare those to what the Yankees currently have, what they're good at and what they're bad at. And then you make a decision if you're comfortable getting rid of what that team needs to receive to trade you that player. That should be it. But I feel like the Yankees have their Ben Zobrist. You've got a player who can play Gold Glove left, center, and right field, as well as first base. He can be your first baseman next year if you return him on a multi-year deal. He could play any one of those 4 positions at an elite level, and he's still 29 years old. He's your Ben Zobrist. So I'm not looking for utility. I know a lot of people they almost have PTSD when we say, hey, what about IKF? Because they're hearing another utility guy hitting 241. No, they don't want it. I'm here to tell you, go get the good players. I'm just personally, and Brian, I understand exactly where you're coming from. It seems like we have a couple holes, and a utility maybe can fill one of those holes, especially on any given day. I don't think it's the Yankees mold anymore. I don't think it should be how it's going. And there you have it. Didn't even read this ahead. Mark with the 5 with the super. IKF. There you go. Who would you give up to bring IKF back? Because personally, I'd be willing to part with some pieces for him at this point. So look at the loaded word there at the end of the super, right? The loaded last piece of that, last bit. For him at this point, which really is signifying that's how bad it is. At this point, I would take IKF. That's what Mark is essentially saying. He doesn't love that option. He doesn't. He's saying, would you consider doing this given where we are at this point? That's how I read it, at least. And yeah, IKF certainly can have a role, and he can get us probably back to the same situation we were in before with Cabrera, where you said that player certainly doesn't suck. You can't say this player sucks, but you definitely can't say he's great. You can't even really say he's really good, but you won't say, you're just going to say he's okay at everything. Is that enough? Given what's around you with this Yankees roster. I know earlier people were saying, Mark was saying, look how different this team is without Cabrera. Well, if you go get an IKF, he probably helps bring you back to that. So if you thought that was enough, then certainly you have the right to think that's what it'd be. But what I would give up, hardly anything. I mean, you're giving up bottom of the barrel prospects, right? Like that's probably what I would give up. I'm not giving up a ton for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He's an okay baseball player. He's obviously can play multiple positions. He can play 31 Gold Glove over there some years ago with Texas. We saw what it looks like at shortstop. If you think you're going to bring in an IKF and call him utility or a Ben Zobrist type and throw him at shortstop because maybe an Anthony Volpe deserves to be benched for a week or a couple days, you are mistaken. IKF should not be near shortstop. He can play second base. That's a solution, certainly. We saw him play first base. He's played outfield. He has a weaker arm, but he can make reads. So no, it's just not for me. Yeah, but is there anything else? I wanted to make sure we discuss everything you guys are interested in talking. I have no idea how this podcast has gone 41 minutes, but you guys have been excellent. Thank you guys, of course, for being here with Yankees Unloaded. And make sure if you're new here, you subscribe to get involved in our jersey giveaway. We will be giving away a Yankees jersey of your choice. Who else met a rip today? Now, Austin Wells did nothing, but overall, he's looked pretty good. Anthony Volpe with the knock. I think my mom was like, oh, Volpe got a hit. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it was in garbage time against a soft throwing lefty, but we'll take the progress. And awesome. But today just kind of stunk. It was just one of those stinkers before the break. Let's be real. It was just one of those games where you just sort of feel like we're ready for the break. We're ready for just some time off. And mind you, here at Yankees Unloaded, we won't be getting any time off at all. So we're going to be doing content for you guys. We're going to be doing interviews for you guys, a ton of interviews. I know last year, for those of you who were with us, and we were interviewing, right, Bob Nightingale, John Morosi, Randy Miller, to mention a few. We have some more as well, some former players, some former Yankees. They're going to be involved with Yankees Unloaded this month. So we are very excited to announce all of those, and we'll make sure we announce them live on the podcast so you guys aren't confused and we don't just pop up with some name you guys really wanted to see live. So again, thank you. And I want to check who's pitching because I want to tee up the game. I want to tee up the game of what's happening. I'm not sure who's pitching. I'm sure a lot of folks do know. Okay. Another early game. Gotta love it. But we've got Will Warren against Imanaga. So this is somewhat of a mismatch, right? Imanaga also has been on the mound much less than Will Warren this year, so not as big of a sample size. But the names, that's a mismatch. The Yankees have to go out and score. I don't care who you face. If you want to win a World Series, you want to win a division, look behind you. The Boston Red Sox are surging. They are raking, just as I predicted them to do at the beginning of the season. They definitely weren't scoring runs at the rate that I expected over the course of the first 2.5 months of the season, but they seem to be headed on the right track. That post-Devers Red Sox team looks pretty decent. So, interesting. Retro Tony says he wished we can get an interview with Bellinger. Oh, we will. Yeah, we'll get Cody Bellinger on the pod at some point. And Mark says, can we talk Chuck Knobloch? He was my favorite player growing up. This is Jake's favorite player, actually. And still have his poster, really. And I was seeing hate on Twitter for Jazz paying homage to him. Twitter, I'm here to tell you guys right now, if you want your life to improve, delete it. If you guys, I promise you, the way that Yankees Twitter is developed and it's created, it's been situated, it's created for you guys to think that you guys are not the majority. We show up here to Yankees Unloaded, right? We talk in front of hundreds of thousands of people live every single month. And you would believe, hopping on Twitter, that that's the majority. All the people getting the retweets and the likes and the quote tweets and the loud, mind you, you say a dumb Yankees opinion or you say some type of take, and you get dunked on, you see the same names over and over again in Yankees Twitter. These people start podcasts, nobody listens. Nobody watches. Nobody. So I promise you, Mark, don't put any stock into what the jabronis on Twitter have to say. That's all I can possibly mention or offer advice. Chuck is just a great player. He's just a great player and a part of Yankees history. There should be no reason there should be any issue talking about our history as a Yankees team, and just the fact that he even knows him is a good thing. So, like I said before, I said it yesterday, Juan Soto had every right to go to the Mets. He made that decision. You can't blame him. You let him make that decision. Don't force people to want the Yankees and want to be a part of this team. You can't force it. Let players who want to talk about the team's history, that want to do that, let them do it and celebrate those players. I think Jazz at this point, he should be celebrated. And of course, he'll mostly be celebrated. You just say, okay, we'll celebrate him when he becomes part of a winner. That's what we're waiting for. So it's the final piece to all this. So I'm really looking forward to, hopefully, that. And again, guys, I want to thank you for being a part of this podcast today. Obviously, a solo pod. Tomorrow, Jake will be by my side. The podcast is always much longer when you got two people bouncing ideas off one another. And I want to get back to the super from Mark before we go. Thank you, Mark. I won't leave you hanging. Said, I did see your interactions with the silly Red Sox fans. Yeah, see, there's me just diving into more losers. They never watch pod and only interact. Some RS post, something you said, sad. So, yeah, there's no interest. These shows, I don't even know what to call them. They're not influencers. They're, what does Cat Williams say? They're influenceless influencers. They don't influence a damn thing. Yeah, if you say something wrong, they show up in droves. And when you say something they agree with, they just don't click it because they don't rock with you. So, yeah, don't worry about it. But I need to take my own advice as well. Mute them, block them, get rid of them. They're pointless. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Will Warren against Imanaga. It's the final game before the break. It'd be nice to give us some momentum, to give Brian Cashman a little shove, a little shove forward of, hey, look at what this team's doing. We can still win something. We can still have a shot at a World Series championship if you can get aggressive and get the right guys for the right price. Don't go out there bargain bin hunting. It's not going to get this team over the hump. Don't think it will. So again, guys, if you're new here, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do to get involved in the giveaway. Make sure you like the video. YouTube will think you hated it if you don't. I am Gary Sheffield Jr. with Yankees Unloaded. Jake will be back tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Till next time.